All right, this is Group 2's presentation, and I am Dustin Stein.
And I'm Dan Ewing.
I'm Suchit Amin.
Our objectives are to design a system to simulate a LinkedIn social network, create a flowchart, a class diagram, and the front-end JSF files, finalize the design documents, JSF files, SQL scripts for the backend, database tables, and all corresponding backend Java Bean files, finalize and submit all coding files and JDBC files, and to create a PowerPoint presentation and a YouTube video explaining the steps involved in the project. Our job duties include design and coding for registration. I, Dustin Stein, worked on the design for stage 1, the design for stage 2 and coding for stage 2, design for stage 3 and coding for stage 3. Dan worked on coding stage 1. Dan also worked on coding and design for stage 2 and for stage 3.
Suraj worked on the design for stage 1, and I worked on the coding for stage 1, and we both worked on everything for stages 2 and 3.
Our meeting times were on Monday, 6:50 p.m. and Wednesday around 6:30 p.m. This is our class diagram. We have the registration page, which includes the first name, last name, email, date of birth, city, state, country, employer, and the register button, and that includes the register function, and that is connected to the registration bean. The registration bean is then connected to the JDBC and user class, and then we have the search page and search bean, which are connected to the JDBC and user class. The JDBC includes the load my JDBC driver function, the insert a user function, search user function, and delete function. The user class has the getter and setters for the users. The search page includes a search function and delete function, and the search bean includes a search function and delete function. This is the flowchart for the registration. We start and enter in the user info, then it validates that user info, and if it gets an error, or if it does not validate correctly, it gets an error and sends it back to re-enter in user info. If it does validate, it registers and it sends that user to the database. The database sends that information back, and then it is added successfully, and once the registration is successful, it ends.
Here we have a screenshot of our registration page that the users will see. We ask the users to enter a first name, last name, email, birthday, employer, city, and then drop-down menus for state and country. As you can see, for all the input boxes, we have validations, making sure that entries are made for these input boxes. We have special validations for the first name and last name, asking the user to insert more than 2 characters and less than 50 characters. And then for the email to include a @ character and a .com. And then once the user inputs all those, they click the register button. Here we have a screenshot of our registration page on JSF. It has all the input boxes from the previous page. It as well includes the validation, which, as you can see, includes the minimum of 2 characters and maximum of 50 characters, as well as the email validation requiring the @ symbol and the .com. And then down below we have the drop-down menus for state and country, and at the very bottom we have the command button, which takes these inputs and connects them to the register function. And here we have a snapshot of our bean class, which takes the inputs from the JSF and puts those inputs into the register function, which then connects to the backend JDBC layer class, which will then go to the database.
Okay, so here we have the search flowchart. So when it starts, the user will be asked to enter their data there, which will be their full name or the city. There's only two options. Okay, and then after that, the database will search for the user's input, which it will go to the database through the JDBC layer and retrieve that information from the database. And if results are returned, they'll be directed back to the user input. But if the results are returned, it will display the results. And after every result, there is a delete button. So the next decision is, does the administrator want to delete a user? If they don't want to, the program will stop. And if they do, that selected user will be deleted from the database. Here is a screenshot of our search page. Just the two fields that ask for the name and the city, and then the search button. And underneath is where the results will be listed. Here is our search page code. First, it'll ask for if you could type in your name. That would be the first output label. The next one will be for you to type in your city. That's the second output label. And then the search button, command button will appear. And then the results will display the first name, last name, city, email, birthday, employer, state, and country. Here is our search user bean page, a screenshot of it. And what this page usually does is connects the front end HTML inputs and connects it to the JDBC layer, which will then connect it to the main database. Here is our user class page. We use this page to contain our getters and setters. So we can get our first name, last name, city, email, etc. and then get them or set them to the variable first name, last name, city, country, birthday, etc., etc. Here is our delete user screenshot. Here we're using Dan's database, and we have his username, his password, and here is our string delete query. It's basically just delete from group project registration, which is the name of Dan's database, and we're deleting the user ID because that would be our primary key. Here is our search conditions, the screenshot of it, and it's just going to select everything from Dan's database group project registration. So if search name and search city, they are both not empty, the results will be returned of that search name and search city. If search name is empty and city is not empty, just this city will be returned, and the same thing if the city is empty and the search name is not empty. Okay.
Now we're going to do a demo of the registration page for the user. As you can see, if you don't type in anything, you will get errors saying that first name, last name, email, birthday, employer, and city are required. So let's try entering some values. Making sure to remember our validations, we have to remember that first name and last name but must be above 2 and less than 50. So let's do John Doe, email john@doe.com, birthday, let's do 01/01/01, employer UHCL, City, let's do Houston, and let's change the state to, let's say, New York, and then country to Canada. Let's do register. So this means when you have no errors, that means the user has successfully inputted the information. And now we go to our database and then refresh the page. We go to the bottom. We see our new user has been inputted.
Okay, here I will demonstrate the search page function. So as it says here, all fields blank returns all records. So let's try that out. Click search, and we have all these results that pop up. And I'm gonna demonstrate the delete button. Here I'll delete new, first name, last name, new, delete, and new is gone. So let's try out the search function. Let's look for Daniel. And there's Daniel. Let's try city. Let's take out the name and try the city only. Let's do Houston. Okay, we have Daniel and we have John Doe, who are both in Houston, New York, in the country of Canada.